Want to learn on how do you deal with life situations? Do you want to learn on how do you deal with those areas where you're getting stuck and you do not know how to overcome a situation like that? If that's something that you'd like to find out, then that's exactly what we're going to be discussing here in the next few minutes. This is Dr. GopikaKumar, your communication and your mindset coach. Let's get started with it right away. So how do we deal with different life situations? And especially, of course, I'm only talking about those areas and situations where you're getting stuck. And those situations which are more challenging, which are more difficult, those areas that we don't really expect them to come on a daily basis, but they do, right? I'm going to explain this to you, something which we call as with an example of a line of expectation. So if you have a pen and paper right now, I'd like you to, grab that and draw it on a simple piece of paper, a simple straight horizontal line. And now just visualize yourself with an experience that you expected to happen for yourself. Now it could be a situation or an experience like that you really worked hard for an exam, and when you went out there, you did appear for it and it went as per your expectations, right? We refer to this as your line of expectation. Or let's say, for an example, we prepared ourselves for a job interview, and while we prepared and we gave the interview, we were able to get a good feedback and in fact even get the job. We were expecting quite a bit, so we refer to this as a line of expectation. We worked very hard, we were expecting a reward, we worked very hard, we were expecting an increment, we were making sure that we are working towards maintaining good relationships with our friends and family. We were expecting it and we were able to receive the same as well. When it happens as we are expecting, we refer to this as a line of expectation, which means all our life experiences are going pretty well. I'm absolutely not deterred. I'm in a very comfort space and I'm not really getting bothered. Now here is the question. The moment there is some misalignment from this level of expectation, from this neutral line, from this expectation line, the moment there is some deviation is where there is some misalignment. Now in all those areas where we are able to receive more than our expectations, now imagine and draw it on your paper as well, a line above your expectation line. I want you to draw that and put that as another plus next to it, which means more than your expectation. So we'll take up this similar situation. Let's say that we applied for a job and we weren't really expecting a salary more than what we were expecting, but we did more than the expectations. We were, of course, waiting and wanting to get a good gift for my birthday, for my anniversary, for a special occasion from my family members, but we weren't expecting something really special more than my expectation. So we are now rising above those experiences where we weren't really expecting them to happen, and we've been able to receive, or fortunately been able to receive, more than what we were thinking. Now is that really a problem area? Definitely not. It's definitely not an issue or a life experience to learn on how to deal with it. In fact, we'll be in a situation where we'll tell ourselves that maybe I deserved it actually, right? I mean, of course, I was meant to receive this as well. We might end up saying statements like these. Now imagine I want you to give up even more escalated situations, and even in these life situations, you'll not really find it an issue or a problem area. Let's create another, and I want you to draw another line above the one that you had drawn right now, which is another plus, which means much more than your expectations. Now this could be a situation where you can refer to it literally as a miracle. It wasn't something that you were expecting at all. It's more magical, it's mistake, and it's completely out of the blue. So it could be like, you weren't really expecting to get yourself a job from, a government sector, and you've been able to receive that. You weren't really, expecting to get yourself a big order from a client, but you've been able to receive much before the season came, or you weren't really expecting to get a great hike in your salary, and you've unexpected, more like a miracle, that you've been able to get a hike in your salary and a great position and a great team lead, and you're going to be traveling abroad. It's more like a miracle, way above your expectation. Now, in situations like these, tell me, do we really think about it much often that, oh, I need to learn on how to deal with this? Of course not. That's the area that we start taking up the pride, of course, many a times with humility also. But having said that, we don't have to learn to deal with them. What we're talking about here is, how do we learn to deal with those life situations when we go below this life expectation, which is the expectation, the neutral line that I had mentioned earlier. So I want you to now think about a situation which happens with all of us on a regular and a day-to-day basis. I applied for a job, but I wasn't able to get that. I wanted to get a good contract from a client, but I wasn't able to receive that. I mean, I worked for it, but I wasn't able to get that for myself. I prepared very hard for an exam, but I wasn't able to get through it. I mean, not the kind of marks that I really think that are deserved, below my level of expectation. I want you to draw a line and say, these are your situations which make you feel frustrated, which makes you feel guilty, which makes you feel apprehensive, which makes you feel hurt, which makes you feel that, is it really even meant for me? And where you start feeling, completely let down, and it's going to really take you time to pick yourself up again. Now, those are the life experiences. And if it becomes even worse, and I really do hope that it doesn't happen with, any one of us hearing that, it could be a situation where, it's many situations below our expectations, which we refer to as a situation of shock. It could be a trauma. I mean, it could come into a situations of accident or death, or some untimely circumstantial situations which we weren't really expecting. Now, in all these situations is where we'll go through a turmoil of emotions. But the beauty of life is that we all as human beings will go through it. What we really need to first identify here today in this very specific session here is that there are different life situations. And it's up to us as a human being to realize, first of all, raise our awareness and consciousness level, that if we are being able to receive all those experiences which were above our expectations, we are also going to receive those experiences which are below our expectations, is where we need to develop our coping mechanisms as well, which I also mentioned in one of my previous videos. Those coping mechanisms which helps me to deal with these negative situations. Now, I'm going to talk about some very simple ways to start off with, because in this entire duration and journey of 21 days, you'll be able to really build up a strong, solid foundation for emotional well-being. So for today, for understanding that how do I deal with these life situations which really put me in a situation of awestruck, here is something that I'd like to say, the top 3 areas. The first area talks about it as acknowledge your feelings. Acknowledge that situation. As I started off with, raise your level of consciousness. Raise that level of awareness that we are not somebody who's like an alien and it's not going to happen with me. It can happen with all of us. To be able to acknowledge your feelings is the first step towards making sure that we can align and take a full control on our emotions. So which we refer to as acknowledge that state, and acknowledge that yes, it's happening. It's not come here without a lesson. It's not come here, without any reason. It's come here to, I'm sure, for a reason to make me stronger, and I need to give it that moment of respect. The second in this space where we need to learn and develop our being for dealing with these kind of life situations is to reevaluate. Were my expectations correct? Reevaluate those expectations. Was I setting myself much more than what I actually should have expected? So let's say if I was expecting myself to get almost a 7 grade point salary, was I even was I even deserving that kind of a salary for myself? Am I having some unrealistic expectations? I was deserving to get a team lead role, but Was it realistic? Did you really have that kind of an experience for yourself? Is what you need to ask. So the second stage here is when you acknowledge your feelings, first see that, did I set my neutral line of expectation way too high? Because if I have, then getting disappointed could be, at just about the touch of that entire experience, because all you were really waiting was that the moment it gets over, you'll be disappointed, and it was ought to happen because the expectation levels were way higher. And the third and the most important way to really understand that how do I deal with these life experiences in a situation which makes me really gloomy is to practice self-compassion. And I want you to do this along with me, and I always say this, that you are going through a turmoil, you are going through an upheaval of emotions, you're getting hurt, you're asking yourself that, did I really deserve this? I want you to self-talk and say this to yourself, which is, if something has happened with me, I need to find out and be patient about it to understand the true meaning behind the same. I know that we might not always be in a situation or a frame like that to understand, but that's all the option that we may have at that point in time, is how we can start to develop to understand that how do I deal with situations like these. If that's something that you've been able to relate to, there's a lot coming more in this entire duration of 21 days along with us. So stay tuned in for this, and if you've been able to get connected with this, do share your comments, like the video, and do subscribe to our channel as well. For the moment, this is Dr. Gopika Kumar signing off.